Hi, Andy here again from Open Road Scotland. I'm going to do a video demo now of our Highlander F70 and F72 models. Now both these vans are identical on the exterior, all the features are exactly the same. On the interior the majority of the features are the same as well. The controls for the heating and the electronics and things. The only difference in the interior is how the van's configured for sleeping areas, and I'll explain that in the demo. So we're starting here on the driver's side, just behind the cab. We've got the electrical hookup point here. We supply you with a 25-metre electric cable. When you're staying at a campsite, one end goes in here to the side of the van and the other goes into your supply point at the campsite. At that point you've got 240 volt power going into the van. You can plug in any 3-pin appliances into the 3-pin sockets like kettles or hair dryers. But it's worth pointing out that you've only got 240 volt power when the van is hooked up. If you're not at a campsite with a hookup, then you have 12 volt battery power only for your lights, your water and your heating. Anything that requires a 3-pin socket will only work at a campsite with hookup. Okay, just below that area, under here close to the cab, we've got what's called your grey waste drain. So grey waste is water from your sink and your shower. That goes into a waste holding tank at the underside of the van, and when you want to empty that, you're just going to turn that lever on the bottom there. The closed position is fully clockwise and the open position is anti-clockwise, and that wastewater will just flow out from underneath the van. If you're at a campsite, there'll be a dedicated area for you to dump that. If not, generally that can go down a normal drain because there's no effluent or any nasty chemicals in there. All you've got essentially would be a little bit potentially of detergent or soapy water. Okay, moving further along here, we've got your freshwater fill-up point. That's clearly labelled so you don't mix it up when you go to fill the van up with diesel. Okay, so again, the tank is on the underside of the van. That holds 100 litres of fresh water, and that supplies your sink, your shower and your toilet inside the van. The water's potable, you can drink it, but we would generally advise just using that water for cooking and for tea and coffee, and for drinking water probably buy bottled water. Below there is the freshwater dump valve. Now you shouldn't need to use this, and probably by the time we've made this video we'll actually have removed this, because it's potentially you can mix it up with the grey water valve and dump your fresh water instead of the grey water. As you see, if I turn that and open, the fresh water soon starts to leak out, so potentially we'll remove that, but for your information in the van, that's your fresh water, so that you don't need to dump that and you shouldn't dump that. Okay, here we have your gas locker. This contains your 6 kilo propane gas bottle, which is supplied with the van. Also supplied in here is your electric cable for hooking the van up at the point that I showed you a minute ago, and there's also a hose system for topping up the fresh water, and that's all contained in here. Now when you want gas into the van, what you need to do is open up the gas supply tap on the top of the propane bottle here, which is the brass valve here. So fully anti-clockwise is open and fully clockwise is closed. Okay, that should be the position that it's in when you're driving, and whenever you want to have your appliances working, such as your heating, your hot water and gas, or if you want to cook using your hob or your oven and grill, you should switch that on by turning it anti-clockwise. So I'm going to turn that anti-clockwise now. The gas is flowing into the van, and I'll be able to show you the appliances working when we move in to do the inside demo. Okay, lastly on the driver's side of this van, we've got a nice big storage locker, which is on the underside of the rear beds here. So when you open up this, these black levers or handles pop out. You turn them anti-clockwise, and that releases the door to open up. Inside there we've got a nice large storage area. You put your outdoor accessories in this area, so we've got a camping table there for you, we've got camping chairs, we've got a little folding barbecue, and this area is accessible from both sides of the van, both the driver's side and the passenger side. Good place for you to store any items that you're bringing, bags, or maybe you've got some outdoor gear that you're bringing with you. We've had customers bring in inflatable kayaks and bike accessories or golf clubs or fishing rods, any of that type of stuff. This is the place to stick it. Now when we're going to lock these doors, I'll just show you this again. The door closes, we're going to turn the latch 180 degrees, and we're going to turn the key in the barrel 180 degrees and then push it in so it's flush with the door, and that's the door locked. Okay, so we've moved on to the passenger side now of the F70 and F72 models. On the F70, again we've got another access door into the storage locker from the passenger side. Moving along here, we've got a gas barbecue supply point. We're not supplying gas barbecues with the van, we're supplying little charcoal barbecues that you can buy your own charcoal for. It's a better system for us and for the customer, we feel. Here is your toilet cassette. Okay, removable Thetford toilet cassette. Your toilet is situated behind the wall here. When you use the toilet, your waste drops down into this cassette here. When you want to empty that cassette with your waste, you're going to lift this lever here, slide the cassette out, and then unscrew here, pour away your waste. Now that waste obviously has to go into a specific dedicated toilet disposal area at a campsite or a motorhome waste disposal site. All campsites have these, and there's a lot more motorhome waste disposal sites popping up around the country now. We can give you some information about that along with your hire. Once we've emptied and cleaned the cassette out, we're going to empty it out of all the waste. We're going to put some water in it, rinse it out and empty it again, and then we're going to add some toilet chemical solution into it so that it's ready for use once again. Okay, so when you're adding, this is how you add chemical to your toilet cassette. Now we supply you with a product called Blue Bio, which is a completely ecologically friendly product that can be used in septic tanks and any campsite which asks you when you're booking if you use a green or environmentally friendly fluid. You can let them know yes you do. It's, as I say, it's a product called Blue Bio. You only need a small amount of it, 25 ml. It comes in this bottle here with this refillable bottle that's got two caps on it. So you take off the cap here with a small dosing chamber on it, and then just gently squeeze the bottle up until you have 25 ml of the product in the dosing chamber, and then we're just going to add that into the toilet cassette after it's been cleaned and rinsed. And that is as simple as that. It's a very easy job. We'll put this cassette lid back on and then slide the whole thing back in, and that's your toilet ready to use again. Okay, next feature to note here on the passenger side is the fuel fill up point. So the vehicle takes diesel fuel at the door here, just next to the passenger door. You have to open the passenger door slightly because there's a lid on the, a lip on the fuel lid there, and that gives you access in here to your diesel fill up point. Underneath that you've got access here to the AdBlu fill up point. Now the vehicle should come full of diesel, and we ask that you return it full as well. There should also be adequate AdBlu in it for your journey. Very occasionally AdBlu warning light might come on when you're out on your hire. Generally there's still about 1,000 miles worth of travel at that point, so we can fill it up when you get back. However, if you're going to be doing more than 1,000 miles, or you'd rather top the AdBlu up, then feel free to do that. You can buy it at a petrol station. Normally costs about £5 for 5 litres or so. Just hang on to your receipt and bring that back and we'll reimburse you for that. Okay, moving on now, we're going to go inside the vehicle. The habitation door is located on the passenger side of the vehicle. You can either operate the habitation door using the small black key here, or it also operates from the central locking. So the forward button here has one main unlock button which unlocks the cab, and then if you want to unlock the habitation door, use this bottom button here to unlock, and that will open up here. When you lock the vehicle using the middle button here, both the habitation door and the cab doors will lock at the same time. So the middle button locks all the doors, the top button unlocks only the cab doors, and then if you want to unlock the habitation door using the forward key, use the bottom button here. Okay, so we're moving into the front living space of the F70 and F72 models, and this is your kind of configuration here as you might want to have it in the evening time or when you've stopped up. You might want to eat like this. You've got an L-shaped seat here, got a side facing bench seat here, and you've got two rotating captain seats from the cab, which also make the area look a little bit bigger as well. So just at the base of the seat, you've got a lever there which allows the two cab seats to rotate round, creating an area here. We've got a table stowed up at the back, which is a portable table which will sit here for when you're eating. I'll talk about that when I show you the bed configuration at the back. Here also are your two travelling seats, so if you've got passengers travelling with you, children or adults, they will sit in these two belted seats here. So for travelling purposes, if you're using this seat here, you'll just have to make a slight alteration and break down the seating configuration here. So in order to do that, we're going to remove these two side cushions here. We're going to remove this middle cushion, and then we have a wooden board there which will slide out, and this can all be stowed at the back of the van when we're travelling. That allows us here, we've got two travelling seats, one at the window and one here, both with three pointed seat belts. Okay, so while we're in the demonstration of the front living space, I'm just going to show where the 12 volt fuse box and the 240 volt circuit breakers are. Generally you shouldn't need to touch this area at all, but if you do, lift up that cushion there, slide back the unit here, and you'll find the power supply unit in there. Your 12 volt circuits are all labelled here. When you have the van hooked up to power, both your heater and your charger light will be illuminated, and here are your circuit breakers for your 240 volt sockets. So if you're at a campsite, and sometimes at a campsite if you have a couple of appliances on, it may cause your circuits to trip. And these are just a 240 volt circuit breaker like you would have at home. If your circuits trip, you can reset them here at this point here. Okay, so we're in the F70 here. The rear space in the F70 is a little bit different from the F72. What you've got here is two single beds here which are kind of permanently made up, one on the driver's side, one on the passenger side. If you do want to change this setup and have one double bed here, that's also possible. So you'll see there's an extra cushion here. There's also a board here which you just slide out of its storage space there, and then into the rails here, and this is where your spare cushion goes. So that makes up quite a large double bed which you can sleep across the way if you prefer that rather than the two singles. Okay, in the Highlander F70 and F72 there's a double bed in the front which drops down just above the living space there. So it's an electric drop down bed. You need to have your 12-volt control panel activated, and there's an isolation switch here for the bed as well, with a key in it. That should always be in the perpendicular position there, horizontal position. So then it's just electronically operated, very easy, up and down, drops down. And that's your double bed set up there. So quite a nice French bed set up, gives you your double here, and in the F70 you've got your choice of large double or two singles at the back, or the F72 you've got your lounge, which creates the double bed as well. If you're putting any kids in this bed, it's got a handy safety net if the kids roll around, or even if it's adults that potentially roll around. So it's just a case of using these straps here. These are tightened up, and bring your safety net up to such a height that it will prevent anyone from rolling out of the bed. Okay, going to talk here about the control panel on the F70 and F72. This is our 12-volt control panel here, which controls our lights and our water pump. So I've clearly labelled everything, which hopefully should make sense. So our top button here is our 12-volt power on and off. We'll switch that on there. Here we've got our interior lights, so that's our interior lighting circuit. All our lights can then be controlled individually. You'll find all lights all around the van, but your 12-volt power and your interior lighting circuit needs to be on for those to work. The next button down is our water pump. So whenever we want running water in the sink, the toilet or the shower, we need to put our pump on here, and then that will give us our running water. Now it's a good idea if you're not using the water pump just to switch it off. It does draw a little bit of power. If you're at a campsite, it's fine, you're hooked up. You've got 240-volt supply constantly charging the battery. But if you're not at a campsite, just switch the pump off, otherwise you're keeping it constantly primed and it's drawing some power out of the battery each time. Up at the top here on this side we've got an exterior light, so we won't go outside to show you this, but basically if you put that on, it puts an LED light bar on the side of the van just close to the habitation door, so that's quite useful at night if it's dark. Here, using this button here, we can check our levels. That will give us our readings here on our water tank levels. It will tell us if we go through our temperature inside and our humidity and fresh water levels and wastewater levels. And this button down here on the control panel, you can just ignore. That doesn't do anything at all whatsoever. This is a very simple one, and it's for the bed. It's just an isolation switch. As I've stated here, don't remove the key from here, otherwise you could end up with the bed stuck either in the up position or the down position. In the horizontal position, the bed can move up and down. If you put that into the vertical position, it disables the bed switch and the bed will not move up or down. So up above here we've got our heating and our hot water controls. Now our heating and hot water are what we call dual fuel, so they can either work on gas or 240-volt power. So that's the heating controller here, gas or 240-volt, and this is the hot water controller here, again gas or 240-volt. So gas we would use if we were off site, we weren't at a campsite. 240-volt we would always use if we were at a campsite and we had a hookup. There's no point burning gas and wasting gas that we can use for cooking if we've got an electric hookup. So for the heating system first, all we do here on the controller is select the temperature that we want. Obviously the lower the setting, the lower the temperature. The higher the setting, the higher the temperature. So if I select just about 2/3 there, and then if I hit the gas button here, what will happen is I will get a blue light on the gas flame here, and after about 30 seconds, once the gas burner has ignited, this blue light will change to orange, and that will switch the heating system on, and it will distribute warm air throughout the van. If I want to do it using electricity, if I'm on a campsite and I want to do it using 240 volt, simply push the button in here. So I would switch my gas off first, and then I would put the button here, the little lightning symbol for electricity. If I hold that down, I can have 1 dot, 2 dot or 3 dots. That will determine the heating output on the van, the 3 dots being the highest, 1 dot being the lowest. And again, that will change from blue to amber after a few seconds to show that the heating is running on electricity. It's the exact same process for the hot water. Okay, we select our hot water boost here. At the moment it's running on gas. We can see that the amber light is illuminated here. If I want to change that to electricity, simply switch the gas off, hold the electricity button down until I've got 1, 2 or 3 dots, leave that go, and then that will change from blue to amber, and the hot water will start heating using electricity. In both cases, for a hot water tank, it will take around about 20 to 25 minutes for the tank to heat fully. That's going to give you about 15 litres of hot water, so that's enough for 2 fairly decent showers, after which you'll feel the water go cold again, and you'll have to then give it another 15 or 20 minutes until it heats up again. So that's the control panel. 12 volt control panel, the heating controls and the bedding all explained for the F70 and F72. Okay, we've got our kitchen area here. We've got kitchen worktop here with an integrated 3-ring gas burner and an integrated sink as well. Once we've switched our gas on at the gas supply outside at the bottle, and we've got our 12 volt power on, we need our 12 volt power for the little electrical ignition for the hob. We hold that down, we hear it clicking, and then your gas hob rings will light up. Okay, this can get very warm when you're cooking, as you can imagine, and this glass lid here can retain a bit of heat as well. If you've been cooking here for a long time, once you've switched off the gas rings, don't put the glass lid down immediately. Leave that up for 5 or 10 minutes until things cool down here before you put the glass lid back. If there's been a lot of heat generated there and you put the gas lid down, we have had occasions before when the glass lids have shattered due to the heat. The sink's fairly self-explanatory. You've got a drain waste there going down straight into your grey water tank. You've got your water pump on, just a case of switching the tap on, and your water will flow through to your sink. Underneath the hob we have a gas oven and grill. Over to the left is for the oven function, over to the right is for the grill function. So just going to press the knob in there, turn that round, press the button, and that's our oven ignited. Back to the middle, we'll switch that off, and for the grill it's just over to the right hand side, and again press the button, and that's the upper grill. Now when you're operating the grill in these vans, you need to leave the door slightly open. It goes up about 3/4 there, and after that you need to push it in. If you push that in now, the grill will stop to operate, so you need to leave that open when you're using the grill. You don't need to close it when you're using, sorry, you don't need to leave it open when you're using the oven. You would always close the door completely when you're using the oven, but just when you're using the grill, leave it slightly open. Lastly, in the kitchen we've got the fridge here. It's what we call a 3-way fridge, so it will operate on gas, electricity or 12 volt battery. What we do is we keep it on A, which is automatic setting. What that means is that the fridge will select the most energy efficient way of powering itself. at any given time. So if we've got it on automatic setting, when we're driving it will take power from the 12 volt battery because it's constantly being recharged. If we switch the engine off and we hook up to a power supply at a campsite, it will automatically change over to 240 volt because it will sense that there's 240 volts coming into the van. If it doesn't pick up 240 volts, it will then look for the gas supply, and if we've opened the gas bottle, it will then start to run on gas. If you want to manually change it onto any of those settings at any point, you're just going to hold that middle button down there, the square one, and then use that to toggle through these arrow buttons. A is for automatic, the plug icon is for mains power, the battery icon is for 12 volt battery power, and the flame here is for gas. So you can select any one of those manually and override the automatic selection function, but generally we would always advise you just keep it on automatic, as that's the most efficient way of powering the fridge. Hello, so I'm in the toilet now, toilet and shower room, and when I explained when we were doing the exterior of the van, we've got a removable toilet cassette which your waste goes into. So essentially, quite simple. What you want to do before you use the toilet is there's a small lever at the base of the bowl here, a grey lever. We want to open that up. That opens up a little trap on the top of your toilet cassette, and after that it means any waste that goes down into the toilet bowl will drop directly into the toilet cassette. It doesn't hang about in the bowl. Okay, so that's the first thing to do. Always open up the trap at the base of the toilet bowl there. Once you've finished, you've got a flush function here. Just press that, get a little bit of water down along with the waste, and then always remember to close this trap back up. Okay, if you ever leave that trap open, it's impossible to get the cassette out. That's to stop any spillage of any of the waste that's inside the cassette. So open the trap before you use the toilet, and always close it straight afterwards as well. The little rest of the washroom is fairly simple. I'm just standing back here into the shower cubicle space. You've got a little vanity unit there, and a wash basin here, and you've got a shower here with a shower enclosure door, which is big enough certainly for an adult to have a reasonable shower in. So in the F70, if we're using this area here in the evening setup or for dining, we want to set our table up here, and our table is located just stored up in the back under the rear bed setup for space saving purposes. It's under this cushion here on the passenger side, and simply lifts out the storage space there. Release the latches here to allow the table legs to fully extend, and then our table sits in this space here. Okay, the only difference for the evening setup for the F72 is where the table is located in the F72, and it's stored in this storage locker here just next to the back seating area. So very simple, just stored in there. So the only difference now to explain to you between the living areas of the F70 and the F72 is we're in the F72 at the moment, and this is the rear living space, which also doubles as a double bed. So you can use this as a relaxing area for eating, just using your table as you would do in the front section, and then when you want to convert this area to a double bed for evening time, it's a very simple process. We're going to unclip the little section there, which allows this rail to slide forward. We're going to lift it slightly over these stoppers here as far as it will come. There's a little bit of tension in there, that's as far as the bed supports will go. And then we've got two cushions, one on the right here here and a second cushion on the left here, and that makes up our double bed here. Now by all means, if you wish, you can remove these side cushions just to give yourself some extra space. Probably want to leave that back one on because it's quite a large one to store, but certainly if you want to move the smaller ones out of the way, that would just increase the width or the length of your bed by another few inches. Okay, on the F70 and F72 models we have a Thule bike rack installed. It's very similar to the Fiamma racks on previous videos, but I'll just talk you through it. It's a 4-cycle rack, very simple design, pulls back down, secures here at the bottom just with a ratcheted strap. And then what we have is 4 rails for each of the bikes to sit in. We have an adjustable fitting that your wheels will sit on, and then again the ratchet strap comes through the wheels, through the rims, and tightens up to hold the rims in place. And then you have a individual rail for each, an individual clamp for each frame to go onto seat post or centre bar, and that will hold 1, 2, 3, 4 bikes. So again, just important thing to remember, you've got a reversing camera on the van, but with the bike rack engaged with 4 bikes on there, you're adding about another 3.5 to 4 feet of length onto the van. So you've got to be really careful when you're reversing, when you're cornering. Always have someone out when you're reversing in particular. And remember, on the big vans we have a large overhang from the back wheel to the end of the vehicle. That is a good 6 foot at that point. So when you're cornering, or when you're turning, or when you're reversing, you really need to take major care. When you're cornering, particularly on sharp corners, give yourself a little bit of a wider angle, take the nose of the vehicle out to allow the back end to come round the corner. If you're reversing the vehicle, always have someone out to help you reverse. Don't rely solely on your reversing camera. It's really easy to miss obstacles. It could be a small rock, it could be a gate, it could be anything just at the back of the vehicle, just out of sight in the blind spots of the camera. So always have one of your passengers with you when you're doing a manoeuvre, a reversing manoeuvre in a vehicle this size. Okay, one more point about safe driving. We touched on the length of the vehicle. We've also got the width to think about as well. Here's one of our most common bits of damage on motorhomes, and it's the driver's side wing mirror. More occasionally the passenger side wing mirror goes, but generally 75% of the damage on wing mirrors is on the driver's side. So you've got a wide vehicle. You're in some Scottish roads which will be single track, some of them will be narrow single carriageway, and you'll have occasionally large vehicles coming towards you. Really take care of your speed on these roads and think about your road position, and if necessary bring your driver's side wing mirror in, just pull it in manually. If you're on a narrow road with oncoming traffic where you feel passing space is at a premium, just bring that wing mirror in. We probably go through 30 or 40 of these each season, unfortunately, and they're an expensive item to replace, so yeah, watch your driver's side wing mirror. Okay, so I hope the video's explained the slight differences to you in the F70 and F72. Most of the features are the same other than the configuration internally. The lengths are the same, the transmission's the same, storage is slightly different, but you know, 90% of the features are the same. Hope you've enjoyed the video, hope it's been informative, and we look forward to seeing you at Open Road Scotland soon. Thank you.